to get started?
Yeah.
So we're trying to start to record these things now. I even do a YouTube channel once we pass the embargo, because I think Theo is going to show some stuff that's pretty hot. So we might have to hide it from the rest of the world until you publish it.
So don't make it too big.
Yeah, no, don't worry. We have a chance. But that's probably not going to work. So it's a great pleasure to have Theo here. So he spent a couple of weeks with us doing some laser ablation on phosphate, so that will be useful to look at in situ changing diet and all the things actually he's going to talk about today. So Theo just finished his PhD last year in Lyon, in France, but already has an incredible track record. So unsurprisingly, he managed to score a Marie Curie fellowship to do a postdoc in Bristol, and then after that, maybe hopefully we could have him for longer than 2 years. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's a great pleasure to be here today to present to you these results I'm in major part obtained during my PhD thesis. And today I want to speak to you about the reconstructing past human dietary habits and past mammal ecosystem structures using calcium stabilizers. So it's part of my PhD thesis that was focusing on the calcium isophysiology in mammals and especially in humans. So we know that calcium isotopes at the beginning of my thesis are useful to explore the relationships between animals and their environments, like living and non-living environments, so the ecosystems, to study the populations and the individuals that are in these populations, and also the organism physiology. All of this today, as well as in the archaeological and paleontological report. All of this we know about these phenomena thanks to about 10 papers at the beginning of my thesis. The question was, what are the calcium isotopes useful to? So what do they track in the mammals biology? So first, a bit of basic biology for calcium. Calcium from mammals come exclusively from food, so diet and beverage. And we find it in mainly bones, so 99% of the body calcium is found in bones and teeth, under the form of the hydroxyapatite, and is about 1 kilogram in an adult human. And the remaining calcium, the 1% that remains, is found in soft tissues, more precisely between intracellular and extracellular fluids, in blood and interstitial fluids for the extracellular part, and within blood between blood plasma and blood cells. These heterogeneous distributions are in relation with the function of calcium field in the human body and in mammals in general. These functions are from the cell to the organs and mineralized tissues, and are vital functions, a really wide range of functions that are vital and dependent on the tight control of the calcium concentration within blood. What's the cycle of calcium within the organism? Calcium is ingested into the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, absorbed to the main reservoir, the central reservoir is blood and extracellular fluids. And then there are some fluxes. The ECF sends back calcium to the GI tract by digestive suppressions. Exchanges every day about 500 milligrams per day in human adults with bone, with soft tissues, and with kidney. Kidney filters 10 grams of calcium per day and sends back to the reservoir, so to the blood, about 9.85 grams, so about 150 milligrams per day are lost in the urine for a human adult. These this cycle is regulated for here the tight concentration regulation, regulation of concentration within blood through three main mechanisms. These flux are regulated, so the absorption, the reabsorption of calcium through the kidney here, and the exchange with bone. This involves various hormonal cycles or hormonal mechanisms. of which I won't talk today. This cycle can be studied like using the quantitative approach of how much calcium is exchanged, how much calcium we find in each reservoir, but also qualitatively in a manner using the isotopes. So calcium has in nature, so the calcium that we're made of, the calcium we eat, the calcium of the entire Earth is a mix of 6 different isotopes in various proportions. And today I'm going to speak mainly about 42 and 44 calcium for analytical reasons, but we won't lose information focusing on these 2 isotopes only. And what can happen here, these isotopes that we find in average constant proportions in the nature are in fact affected by some reactions. If you take, for example, a pool of 20 red isotopes and 20 blue isotopes, some reactions can induce the formation of 2 different products with more here blue isotopes and more red isotopes, so 3 times more here and 3 times more red isotopes here. So this is the kind of fractionating reactions we're interested in. What is this fractionation linked to? It's related to the nature of the ligands and the binding stiffness, so the stiffness of the binding between calcium and other chemical complexes or molecules, and the kinetics of the reaction. This is helpful to either fingerprint the origin of calcium, so identify the source of calcium, or to characterize transport mechanisms or reactions. How do we express these isotope compositions? We measure isotope abundance ratios, and then we express them relative to reference material and take a magnifying glass to observe it. Like this is the Vermeer limit to observe tiny variations. How do we measure them? We send the same way Asterix and Obelix would arrive really fast in a curve. Obelix would be deported at the external part of the curve. Isotopes are sent in a magnetic field where they are sorted according to their masses. And this allows us to measure the ratios. What do we know about the calcium isotopes in biology, in mammals especially? So at the beginning of my thesis, we know that biological control on calcium isotope fractionation is high, it's bigger than on mineral world. And here on this compilation of the variability of the isotope composition, so this delta 44 to 42 calcium, in major surface geological reservoirs is 2 to 3 times less pronounced than in biological materials, as has been measured up to today. We also know that when compared to the bone isotope composition, when compared to the source, to the direct isotope composition, the bone isotope composition is depleted in heavy isotopes, so enriched in 42 calcium or depleted in 44 calcium. You can say both, by about minus 0.65 polonium. The other tissues are more variable, but the working hypothesis, according to these results, was that there is a fractionation at bone mineralization. So during this flux from blood to bone of minus 0.65 polonium. This is the working hypothesis that's prevalent at the beginning of my thesis. So what we know is that physiological effects, so physiology has an effect on the calcium isotope distribution within the organisms. And the question of my work was what are the mechanisms responsible for these variations. It consisted in further exploring this variability and identify the causes to update the applications that we could develop with calcium isotopes for the study of mammals biology. Today I'm going to be really fast about analytical methods, focus on dietary effects, human diet variability, dietary changes and ecosystem structures, and we'll say a short word about physiological effects that have been so the conclusions that I've obtained during my thesis. Analytically, we use this kind of machine, as Tony has here in Hong Kong also. So we have either the possibility to do solution mode analysis of biological material, or increased spatial resolution in mineralized tissues, so small sampling using laser ablation, or micro drilling in teeth here. So the micro drilling, a small word about this. You can see here Ursus Arctos molar from France, where there is here the hole after the sampling. So here is another scale for this. 400 micrometers diameter holes is sufficient, which will consist about in 20 to 40 microgram material. So that is sufficient for analysis. So what happens next? We take the sample, we digest it, and then pour it in chromatography, exchange chromatography column to extract the element that we're interested in, and then we send the element in the mass spec to analyze, as I've shown just earlier about the ratio, the isotope ratio measurements. Here, so we use the ICP-CA Lyon standard as a standard for reference material, and we also check for accuracy. We check that we respect the mass fractionation laws, and we also check that we can compare our data with other laboratories using international standards. I can come back to it if you want afterwards. Okay, so dietary effects. The first question I asked was, what is the average delta value of human diets nowadays, and what can we learn from this study of the main factors that affect the variability in the diet? So, why do we ask this question? Because diet determines the isotope composition of bone. For example, here we have the isotope composition of diet for 6 different mammal species, and here the isotope composition of bone here in relation, and there is an offset of -0.54 per mil in average. So there is depletion from diet to bone of -0.54 per mil. And this asks the question: does the variability in diet affect the variability in bone? And in turn, would it be possible using bone to reconstruct diet in bastion populations? Here is a compilation of all available data for the different sources of calcium, dietary sources of calcium for drinking water, crustaceans and mollusks, fishes, eggs products, fruits, cereals, meat, dairy products, and others. So here you can already see that dairy products have a really depleted isotope composition in heavy isotopes, so really low delta values here. There is also high variability in fruit and vegetables too. What I did is I compared this data set with what we know of the French normal or French medium diet, mean diets with the different sources in alimentation. So I estimated the calcium from the calcium proportions obtained from dietary sources, and also considered that dairy products constitute about 40 to 70% of calcium intake in Western populations. I combine these to estimate the distribution of the delta values in average diets as a function of the calcium from dairy products. And you can observe these type of distributions with the median, the 50% distribution and the 90% distribution. You can sum this up. Here, for example, we see that it's strongly dependent on dairy products, and that considering a 40 to 75% calcium coming from dairy products in Western populations, it would imply, for example, a 50% distribution between -2.5 and -1, sorry. So big variability and a strong dependence in the dairy product consumption. You can sum this graph up here by small ranges, and this means that the significant variations in dairy product consumption should induce significant variations in the isotope composition in bone, and dietary practices are likely influenced by the delta values, such as veganism and the average French populations. So the question is, would it be useful to use calcium isotope to track the increase in the dairy product consumption along the human history, for example, in the transition from Paleolithic to Neolithic, and during Neolithic as well, with the development of domestication and development of handling, for example. the expansion of consumption of dairy products played a major role in nutritional and economical context, but still debated, and also was related to the development of this mutation enabling people to digest milk in some parts of the world. There is, though, no quantitative tool to track the effective dairy product consumption, so calcium isotopes could be a tool for this, and this has been proposed earlier, but there were no conclusive results. But I will show you that we can take a step backward and say that it's a bit more subtle. Here you have what I've shown you just earlier, and you can here see the evolution with all the available data along the prehistorical and historical periods from Epipaleolithic to present day that we have. And there is a significant decrease in these data value from Neolithic and pre-Neolithic periods to modern periods by minus 2.55 per minute here. And this is compatible with an increase of calcium coming from dairy products from less than 20 to more than 40% of calcium coming from dairy products. So this would be useful to track this increase in dairy product consumption. So more work is needed, and I'm currently on it, for example, here today when I'll be back in France. And would be useful to track the expansion of Neolithic culture and also the increase in dairy product consumption during the spread of this mutation, so this lactase mutation. We might focus next on the plant and meat consumption because the dairy products are here the first factor for variability, but there might be other factors. And according to the vegetation or the plant type, there could be other effects too. And also combine these studies with the study of populations DNA to track the changes in both dietary habits and genome. Second question I asked, do early life dietary transitions influence the calcium isotope composition of the organism? What are we talking about? Early life dietary transitions begins with birth, so after the in utero development and the placental nutrition associated with it, and then is followed by breastfeeding, by a period of transition from breastfeeding to an adult-like food. This weaning period ends with this age at cessation of suckling that we could define here like this. Why is it useful to study these weaning practices? Because it is a biological and cultural behavior. It's a major determinant in health and development of mammals, and also a determinant of life history traits, strategies associated with the young ages in cessation of suckling in modern human, and other traits that are specific to human and that could be studied here through weaning practices too. There are several tools that could help us reconstruct such weaning practices, but they either lack specificity or are sensitive to diagenesis, so we're always happy to have a new tool to study such behaviors. So the question is, are delta values of calcium, so are calcium isotopes useful to study these changes in dental tissues? So why calcium isotopes? Because as I've shown you here is the Western diet estimate of the isotope composition distribution, and you can compare it with modern day breast milk, and breast milk is depleted in heavy isotopes by minus 0.4 to minus 1 on the average. So the question is, do these dietary changes, so from breast milk to an average Western diet, would affect the bones and the teeth isotope compositions, and in turn would it be possible to infer these type of practices using bones and teeth? Why teeth? Because it's I won't learn this to you, but it has an incremental structure, so you can follow evolution, time evolution. And calcium has high potential to study these because teeth are the main recovered fossils, in case calcium is a major constituent, so it's poorly affected by diagenesis, and it's possible also to spatially resolve the analysis. This was the purpose of this publication, assessing human weaning practices with calcium isotope in tooth enamel. So what do we expect? We expect to see a low, first, we don't know what happens here during placental nutrition, but we expect first a low isotope composition of diet and of teeth that form during breastfeeding here. A transition towards a heavy or more enriched in heavy isotope composition, so more positive delta values. What did we do? We collected 51 deciduous teeth from 12 different individuals of known dietary histories with 3 main scenarios: exclusive breastfeeding from birth, exclusive formula feeding from birth, breastfeeding followed by formula feeding. These were supposed to record these transitions because these teeth form during these breastfeeding and weaning periods. And we also collected wisdom teeth of modern individuals, 9 different modern human individuals that record an adult-like diet because these animal chromes form between 7 and 15 years of age. Then we did these microsamplings, so collected about 160 samples, and these are the results. So you have here the evolution of the delta value with time, so with 4 categories of time: prenatal development, birth, and postnatal development here, and also this long-term age, so period, 7 to 15 years old, assessed using the wisdom teeth. And we see an increase from in utero development to the period, the postnatal period that we recorded here is 0 to 10 months of age, and that tends to reach these values of the long-term trend. So we observe a significant drift of these isotope compositions with here the long-term period that is compatible to, with an adult-like diet, and the in utero development that is compatible with the baby feeding on the mother's blood calcium. So we record likely transition from in utero to an adult-like diet using calcium isotopes in tooth enamel. More precisely, we have here the 12 individuals for which we have in fact 2 groups. One group that was breastfed less than 4 months, and another that was breastfed more than 2 years. And we observe when these data are summed up in box plots. Here I show you not the delta but the big data, so it's the drift from the in utero development to the postnatal development. So these drifts are significant in this group here from 0 to 4 months of age breastfeeding period. With here an average of plus 0.24 per mil. And here we observe no significant shift of these values in the long-lasting breastfeedings. So this tells us that the drift in the delta values in teeth are related to the duration of breastfeeding in human, and tells us that dietary transitions are recorded within tooth animal in human, and likely in other mammals too. And we are able here to distinguish between short breastfeeding periods, less than 6 months of age, that is compatible with our modern industrialized way of life, and a long-lasting breastfeeding more than 12 months that is compatible with a non-industrialized way of life, according to the statistics. And it is likely thus possible to reconstruct the weaning practices in human remains, and the prospects would be, of course, to focus, for example, on the evolution of the human lineage and compare and ask the question: why do we have such varying weaning practices in great apes and search, for example, the short breastfeeding period in modern human? Then, finally, I would like to discuss with you this question: what calcium isotopes can tell us about the present day of fossil ecosystems. So why do we ask this question? Because the trophic relationships are likely recorded by calcium isotopes according to this working hypothesis. That is, the organisms feeding on each other would here be associated with the propagated isotopic effect, dietary isotopic effect, with a decrease in the delta values from the dietary source to another. That has been observed in both marine and terrestrial environments about 20 years ago, but was discussed and has been discussed in the past few years. So we ask here the question, to what extent trophic levels affect the organism delta values, so the trophic levels would affect the bones and the teeth isotope compositions, and to what extent is it possible to reconstruct these relationships using bone and teeth isotope compositions. We have published various studies on mainly marine here and here marine environments. And the continental environments looks a bit more complicated. I would like today to focus on an unpublished data set that here focuses on the continental environment. Here with a focus on modern and fossil assemblages in Tsavo National Park in Kenya and Pleistocene Turkana Basin fauna from the Turkana Basin. We have here data from carbon isotopes and the calcium isotopes from phosphates associated to these teeth, and that is a collaboration with Vincent Dalter, Jérémy Martin, and Thierry Serling from Salt Lake City. We have various here in the modern day fauna. We have various ecologies, known ecologies with both browsers and grazers. And here are the results for the modern part. You have the isotopic composition of calcium according to the different families that are represented here, with an ordering according to increasing averages. And you have these families. So what we can say here is that the carnivores are at the lower end of the distribution. We have then the grazers and bovids are both grazers and browsers according to the species here, but potentially a difference between grazers and browsers here. And there is these guys here, the hypos, that have a really peculiar isotopic composition for calcium. So this raises some questions about why we have such a complexity here, for example, for hypos. There are several hypotheses that could be discussed. Either peculiar dietary habits or the either physiological habits or the fact that they are living in fresh water and that could be influenced by the environments they live in. And so it could be discussed. And the question is still open for hypos. But it looks like it's sensitive to trophic level, and also there is the remaining overlap here. What happens when, just a step back, I wanted to discuss the difference between browsers and grazers. So here are browsers and grazers that have been identified according to their carbon isotope compositions. And how could we explain such difference between browsers and grazers? So minus 0.20 per mil from browsers to grazers in modern herbivores. We have to look at the data we have on vegetation. So here are the isotope composition of soils that we know from the literature. And here are the isotope composition of roots, stems, and leaves, as well as fruits from dicotyledons. And monocotyledons here, so grasses mainly. And you have here a significant difference between leaves and grasses of minus 0.3 per million in average. That could be the reason why we observe such a difference here between browsers and grazers. So calcium could also be partly sensitive to the type of vegetation or the type of organ that the herbivore consumes. So it may be seen as another noise in the signal, but it also can have interesting applications, because here, so calcium isotopes are likely sensitive to plant types, but here is the calcium versus carbon space. And you have here the browsers, altogether the grazers here, hypos that are here in the category of mixed feeders, and here forested environment predators, are lower, so they're consumers. That's the trophic level we expect. And also here, open environment predators, which could be also like more subtly said, open and mixed environment predators, because they would feed on both types of herbivores. So we have here potentially a tool, a combined tool of calcium and carbon that could be useful to reconstruct the structures of ecosystems, with here the partition between C3 browsers and C4 grazers here, and the herbivores versus carnivores in this space. So this looks quite simple here in the modern environment, and here we would have Panthera pardus, so leopards, feeding on high delta value sprays from C3 environments, and here lions and hyenas that would feed on C3, C4 mixed feeders. So the coupling of the two tools would be useful to reconstruct these ecosystem structures, and so focusing also on the carnivore niche partitioning. But what happens in the fossil? So here it is still modern, and as a comparison, the fossil Turkana data that we have. We would like to underline that we have a long time span here, so we are focusing on species that might have evolving ecologies over time too. But we see that the ordering between species could be partly, is partly conserved here with hyenas here with the lowest values, and potentially bimodal distribution for these pantheras here, which we will discuss. But this conservation of the relationship between modern and fossil can be seen like this, with this graph of families here. And there is a significant correlation, despite documented ecology shifts, for example, for proboscideae, for elephants that have evolving ecologies during this time. And also we have clustering and conservation of this family ordering that tells us that there is likely little to no diagenesis affecting the calcium isotope composition of these teeth, and also the noise could be linked to these ecology changes in different families. Here is the calcium versus carbon space for the fossil fauna, and you have here, so it is not strictly the browsers and grazers according to the C13 thresholds, so these groups are interpretation, but here you have the main group of predators with hyenas and 2 felids, and here one lonely hyena and 3 saber-toothed cats. So these saber-toothed cats, one interpretation could be that it has been proposed that saber teeth prevents eating of bone, or reduces the eating of bone, because it would expose the individual to break teeth. So there could be a more pronounced consumption of bone from predators, from herbivores here, by these predators, and here a more pronounced consumption of muscle. And muscle is expected to be heavier in isotope composition than bone, so it could explain these isotope composition of these 3 individuals. And hyena that is known to feed on bone asked the question, so this is another layer that should be further discussed. So here, as a conclusion, it's more complicated, likely due to the lack also of pure C3 herbivores and shifting ecologies over time, but it's a promising tool for the ecosystem reconstruction here in ecosystem structures here in East Africa. A few words about the physiological effects and what we understand of the physiological effects that could explain the distribution of calcium isotopes within the organism. So, what relationships between the main calcium reservoirs is the first question I try to answer to, and where are the calcium isotopes fractionated? Here are just the final results, the final conclusions. So here is what I've shown you earlier, the scheme of the calcium cycle within the organism. We observe a shift from diet to bone of minus 0.65 per mil. That has been interpreted as a shift from blood to bone of minus 0.65 per mil. And my observations also involve that there is a fractionation from blood to urines of plus 1.15 per mil. And this relationship here is a bit different than previously proposed. But the calculations and the box modeling tells us that the renal function exerts feedback action on the rest of the organism, so on the blood too, with here the kidney, the renal function that on itself could explain the low values of bone when compared to diet. So there is likely no to little fractionation during bone formation, so mineralization, and also remaining questions as to what do these fluxes induce, so what are their roles in this distribution. But the main result is like renal function is the primary reason for this distribution in the organism. So as a conclusion here, we have the ability to measure calcium isotope compositions, and there are possible reconstruction of diet characteristics in bones, using bones for the study, for example, of dairy products and the intensification of Neolithic cultures. It is possible to assess cooling practices in toothed animal, so it would be interesting to further discuss the signal transduction from effective dietary changes and observed variations in teeth, and it would be interesting as well to study the evolution of cooling practices in the human lineage. The trophic levels are a major factor for the calcium isotope distribution within ecosystems. It is really promising to couple these measurements with the carbon isotopes, and it is possible to study ecosystem structures and dynamics. So it would be interesting to further think the calcium and these isotopic tools as identification of niche and the niche breadth as well, so the width of the niches of the past organisms, and of course to study the ecologies of past hominins. Calcium has a high potential, as I've said earlier, because it can be used to study precious fossils because really little material is needed, and old fossils because it's likely really little affected by diagenesis. And could be, for example, used to study the variation of lactation in early mammals, as Auguste will tell you more about in 2 weeks. And, for example, about the variation of biomineralizations in the early vertebrates. And the final conclusions on physiology and the role of kidney. And the further prospects for the physiology studies. I thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here, and